Hello everyone and welcome back to Grey Owl Reviews, and today I am joined by my good friend Liln,
Sup?
and we've got a lot to say about Endgame today, so let's just get right into it, okay?
And just a warning before you go any further, there's spoilers ahead, so we've warned you.
So Avengers Endgame, it's finally here after a year of waiting since Infinity War, after 10 years since it all began with Iron Man, and 11 years technically since the first release of Iron Man, but yeah,
This
whatever.
is this is like 11 years in the making, this film. I was so excited going into that cinema, you have no idea.
I was honestly unsure of what to expect because I had some. We know from the previous Let's Talk video, the first actually one we made.
Yeah.
We had some ideas, we had some hopes and theories, but I
No, we
honestly
were
didn't
wrong.
expect this. Funny enough, we were actually quite right about a few things. We were just wrong about a certain few.
Yeah, yeah. I think I said I guessed a little bit about time travel. I was like, maybe that's the only way, or they go to a parallel universe. I was thinking that because I know the MCU is like such an expansive kind of universe. They have their own like universes within their universe, so it's like the multiverse kind of for the MCU. So I thought they might do something like that. A lot how like DC does that with their worlds, and it makes it feel a bit more true to the comics. Uh, Rather than kind of like a cinematic movie, it felt like a comic book movie.
Yeah, honestly, this is Marvel brought to life. For I mean, anyone who knows who actually owned Secret Wars, a great comic series I can recommend. This is pretty much that brought to life, but we'll get to that in a bit.
Yeah,
But yeah, honestly, this is an amazing movie, and I can't stress this enough throughout the video. This is a must-see film, especially if you're a superhero fan, especially if you're a Marvel fan, especially if you're an MCU fan.
oh yeah,
It is
just
that good.
what they did with these characters was the best thing ever. Like, obviously, we got to see all these heroes. They had much more screen time than the actual battle. The one gripe, I'll get to my gripe later, and I'm sure I'll let you know about that. But first, I'm gonna get to the good stuff.
Yeah,
So I need to talk about these characters with you because these characters were developed so well. I was wondering how they would develop these characters, and they just did it so well. They pushed through all their personality, like they just a lot of characters just straight up changed. And it's not the first Avengers you know and love, and obviously this is like a lot later in the comic book worlds. But I didn't think they'll add like Professor Hulk and stuff. Like I was hoping that's how they would develop the character, but when he popped out, I was like, "Wow, yes,
yeah,
amazing!"
yeah. We kind of knew that something was coming with the Hulk because they seeded as far back as Ragnarok that he was going through his own trilogy arc because he
Yeah,
can't get his own movies. So we always had the idea that So we always had the idea that he was going somewhere, and it could have been Professor Hulk. But to see it actually finalized on screen, it's such an interesting change from where it began for him,
and
all the way
it's
back in Incredible Hulk and the first Avengers film.
if you think about it, it's pretty much the only way they could have developed that character, to be honest. Like, the only way to develop it in the correct way would be to turn him into Professor Hulk. Like, he was. Obviously, that's what they were hinting at anyway. With Infinity War, where he was having his gripe between him and the Hulk not wanting to show up. So it was like, sod it, let's fuse the two. It's great. It's amazing. Just a smart, strong guy. Even better. And it's just the amount of, like, funny stuff that comes out of Banner's mouth. But, like, in the Hulk form is just amazing. It's just the best stuff.
It's fun and interesting because again we're so used to seeing Mark Ruffalo as grunting and groaning for the Hulk, but to see him actually be Mark Ruffalo slash Bruce
Yeah.
Banner in the Hulk's body, it's a fun change of pace, and it's also just adds a lot of the humor to
Yeah.
essentially everything else. Because this film is not devoid of humor like any typical MCU film, but for everyone, you kind of felt that this film would sort of continue the Infinity War stick, where it was going to be depressing and dark at points a lot, and they would have a joke here and there. This film
Yeah.
continues that really, but there's a lot more humor moments, which is nice because it kind of has a decent
That's just
balance
the
actually.
characters. Yeah, that's just the characters being the characters. I mean, you can't really go without the humour. That definitely makes it a very good. That's one of the things I love most about the MC world is they can have a good joke, and like all the heroes have such a good like funny personality to themselves is the best.
Yeah, and I'm just gonna say this. I think for a 10-year in the making series, this wraps up everything in a perfect way. Again, I think for Captain America and for Iron Man, and to name a few others, I just think that it makes so much sense after what they've been through and what they've seen and what you expected of them.
God damn, like even Thor gets fat. Thor gets fat. Fat Thor is my favourite goddamn thing, but it's like his character means something as well because he gets like after obviously like 5 years after the snap, think about even before that in Ragnarok, he lost his homeworld and he realised through that like, oh no, Asgard is the people, not the place. So it's like, oh, that's a great turnout of events. Nope, Thanos just snaps half of his population away. Like, he's just a broken man. He has to survive with what he has now, and he's so like shattered that he's like failed his people because he couldn't stop Thanos from that happening. He couldn't save anyone. Like he's like so angry with himself that he becomes really depressed, and then he gets and he just sits playing games and drinking beer, and he gets really fat, and it's the funniest goddamn thing.
It didn't. What was it? Didn't one of we went with a friend. We won't name, but he what was he said?
Now.
What was it Danke said about Thor? He was the personification of
his
something.
University years, yeah. God damn. Yeah, and that's exactly how I see him as well. So that was a nice little moment between us.
I wasn't expecting that actually, because again, they weren't kidding about only the first 20 minutes being part of the marketing push, and I thought for sure for the final battle they were going to have everyone be in their prime and all that, but to see Thor in that state throughout the film, it's hilarious, but it makes sense for the story direction, and it's just added to the humor as well. It's just again the Big Lebowski joke to him, and the moment where he's slitting back the hammer.
So like at the end, I remember you saying that you thought like he was going to do some special god powers and become like thin again.
Yeah.
But I'm so glad they kept him fat. Honestly, that makes me so happy.
Not only does it make sense for the story, but it also kind of sets them up to do interesting stuff down the line as we'll find out in the next few movies. Unlike a certain series I know, which we won't get into.
Yes,
it's Doctor Who. Yeah, so I guess what would you say was your standout moment in the film, mate?
I'm not gonna lie, my like most standout moment, like the one I just love the moment. Do you mean like favorite scene? By the way, just so.
Well, favorite scenes, I guess, because it's hard to pick one. I think.
Yeah. Okay, so my favorite scene, which also is kind of still on topic because it's one of the characters' development moments, was when Captain America picked up Mjolnir. Oh yeah. My god. Like, we all knew it was going to happen. It was teased years ago and everything. Like, but to see it happen is another thing entirely. Like,
god damn it!
When
makes
I
sense.
thought Thor got it when he ran in there with the two weapons. It's like, oh yeah, he has his fucking Thunder Hammer and Stormbreaker. Like, yeah, of course he's gonna be fine. But he's just Fat Thor. What can he do, man? Like, so he has to get Captain America to help him out and pick up his hammer. God damn, and he deserves it as well. Oh, such a good moment between Captain America.
Yeah, another nice recreation of the comics. And again, honestly, it's what else can I say really? I'm probably just be saying that throughout the entire video. Really, it's just it's so good.
I think just before we get to more into the plot things, I do want to talk about Thanos as a character, real quick. Okay. So, Thanos as a villain. Infinity War, he was outstanding, amazing. He was a massive threat, obviously, because he was the main villain, but he was a massive threat because he had, like, almost full Infinity Gauntlet. Even when he had one Power Stone, he was a massive threat. Like, that's insane. Like, when he just had the Power Stone alone, he was already dangerous as fuck. But then he had all of them, all 6. And then it just seemed like he was unstoppable. Thor managed to get a scratch on him, but it didn't count in the end. But in Endgame, it kind of felt a bit disappointing to me. So, really? Yeah, so, like, Thanos at the beginning, when they get him and Thor just chops his head off, Like,
Yeah, I admit I wasn't expecting that because I
Yeah.
knew there was going to be some form of resolution before something happened that would kick off the main plot. But I did not expect Thanos to be killed, and this kind
yeah,
of goes later in onto the time travel aspect, which we'll discuss. Which I will admit did get a bit confusing because
yeah,
of that. But yeah, killing Thanos makes sense, and in terms of the story direction, yeah, we needed that resolution with those characters to kick off the film. Otherwise, it would be haunting us throughout the rest of the film. So I don't disagree with it, but I
yeah.
can see why certain people could be disappointed with this film
But
because yeah, the
it's
first
not
film was
fully that though.
Infinity War set up him to be the central character of that film, and everyone else was more of just there because we
Yeah.
knew them already. And this film goes back to basic, really. It's about the Avengers, which makes sense. It's got to be their story. It's got to be their final chapter.
Oh, yeah.
But because of that, Thanos does take a back seat. And I guess some people will feel a bit disappointed that he doesn't really do much outside of just, posture and say monologues. But they're important to the story. But it's almost like it's kind of like seeing your favourite character be front and centre after all these years, and then they're back centre again.
It's great because like in this movie, more superheroes are like obviously badass and stuff, but superheroes become more superhuman than anything because you really get to see like how they feel after the snap and everything. It's great.
Yeah, I loved that we got to see. I mean, again, I thought that we would have a time jump. Then when the trailer came out, I thought, oh, they're not going to do it. But we got the best of both worlds. We got to see the immediate aftermath, and we also got to see the long run aftermath, and I loved that.
Oh yeah,
And
I love
the fact
that
that
as well.
Tony's got kids, that Clint's had a period of time where he can go around killing people. The fact
Yeah.
that we now know that Black Widow and Captain America will
Yeah,
still go through the
Hawkeye
Avengers
becomes
after all these
Ronin.
years.
Insane. When Hawkeye became Ronin, I was like, oh, fuck, of course. I was like, how could they develop him? I thought he was just going to become, like, a bit more cold-blooded, but no, he just becomes Ronin. It's like, oh, yes. Amazing character development, perfect. Like, so good. So going back to a little bit what I said before, Thanos in this game, obviously, I had a bit of a gripe before that. He was a bit moody and he got his head cut off, whatever. Later in the film, it does just, like, his scenes do him justice. But I'm a bit confused about a few things.
Okay.
So in this, he doesn't have the 6 Infinity Stones. He's just a really badass warrior. It kind of felt like he was just, or if even more powerful, without the Infinity Stones. Like, he had that, like, 2-sworded blade which cut through vibranium. Like,
Yeah.
his Captain America's shield. What was it made of? Do we know?
Likely just alien material. And
I just
again,
I don't know if
that-
we're missing something about Thanos as a character if he had like a special weapon.
I don't think that was really important because
Yeah.
they've established that vibranium is the strongest metal on Earth.
Yeah.
So it's not out of the realm to think that Thanos had material of his own that was just more stronger.
I felt like they didn't even try to mention it. They were just like, oh yeah, he has this. Just paint
But
their
at the end of
minds.
the day, it doesn't really factor in. It's not like his own version of Mjolnir or Stormbreaker.
He could have
It's
like
just a
before
weapon.
the battle looked for his sword. I'll cut through Captain America's shield or something, like say to himself or something like that.
Nah, I don't think they needed that. That'd be too obvious.
Obviously,
And,
yeah,
if
yeah.
anything, I think it's just
This is why I shouldn't write movies, but
yes, you should. Shouldn't. But sorry. Yeah. What was I saying? Yeah. For Thanos, I don't know. I think for what he could do for the plot, for the story that had to happen, and that made sense in that progression.
Yeah.
I think he did. I think he did us justice. I think he did justice for them. I will admit that
I'm just a bit confused as to why he was so strong, but because like obviously when
'cause
Thor
he's a
fought him in
Titan.
Infinity War, yeah, but I mean like Thor fought him in Infinity War and just cut through him with his like thing real quick, and obviously Thor is fat now. Might you could blame it on him being like not in shape, but that's kind of feels.
Well,
like a
you
cop
could
out
say
to me.
because he was taken off guard in Infinity War because he had the stones in that moment.
Yeah, but he
Whereas
shot
here,
all 6 Infinity Stones at that, and his sword is blocking it in the film.
because he had Stormbreaker. But here, sure, Thor has Stormbreaker, but
And
Thanos is
Mjolnir.
also on his high alert because he doesn't have the Power Stones to protect him. So he's likely in full warrior mode. Whereas before he was more like, I'm a god here, so there's
Yeah.
no really need to be of high intuition.
Nah, I kind of feel like they changed his character a little bit again. Like, why did he go from a badass warrior to like, imagine if that Thanos, with the sword in his other hand, had the Infinity Gauntlet in the other hand, and just learned to fight with
then
it
we'd
through
lose.
Yeah, exactly. But why didn't he? If he wanted to win that badly, his motivation seemed like heavy enough for him.
Well, again, from his perspective, he'd seen his future. He saw that he was inevitable. So in his mind, yeah, I don't need to put my all into this because I am gonna win regardless. So even though he's on high alert, he's got this. It's like when you cheat in a test, and even though you have that moment of, oh, can I do it? Can I remember everything? You just know that because you've seen the glimpse of what the answers are, you kind of know that I'm going to get a decent score, so I don't need to try too hard. Not that I'm condoning people cheat on tests, but
Of course.
it's kind of like that thing where you
Cheat on your tests.
Yeah, you cheat so you have an idea of what's going to happen, so you don't feel as under pressure.
Yeah.
I kind of feel like the same thing with Thanos, where he knew what was going to happen or what was meant to happen in his head, so he didn't feel like he needed to put his all into it, even though he was on high alert to at least fight the Avengers. But he didn't need to, get to the corner, get everything done, get it done there and there, because he even says in his monologue that, I'm going to enjoy doing this because I know that it's going to happen regardless.
Yeah. Well, he says he's going to enjoy doing it again because, like, they were a pain in his side, and he's like, I'm going to enjoy killing you. And it's like, oh, okay. Anyway, before we get a little bit too much into Thanos, because it will lead back to one of the big plot points I really want to talk about, which is time travel. So, obviously, this was going to happen, but I need to say it was very silly at first. Like, having Ant-Man introduce it, it makes sense and everything. Don't get me wrong. And I'm not like later I was like, fuck yeah, okay, this is amazing. But like, because it had its own rules and stuff, and like, well, it had like, I guess, proper rules to fit the MC universe and to fit the comic books and how it would work in the comic books and that universe. But it at first having it introduced was like, oh yeah, okay, they're just gonna cop out with time travel or something. And it's like, oh, okay. Just the way he brought it up was like, you guys heard about time travel? And it's like, oh.
Yes. I mean, any time travel movie concept to begin with can be difficult and frustrating because it's so simple. And we kind
And
of
the way
want them
Tony
to
was
do
just
something
like,
different, but...
oh yeah, I made it. It's like, oh.
Yeah, that was funny. But I can understand that some people will probably be annoyed that, it's just stop the snap again, reverse it, or reverse the polarity or whatever. But again, I can't really say that this is the only way they could have done it, because I'm sure there are some alternative ways, that comic book ways too, that they could have done it as well. But I think what they did do, at least, it was worth this. It was worth it, I guess. I can't say I guess a lot, but truthfully, I just think that what they did end up doing worked, and it was an entertaining film. That's what we asked for. We didn't need it to be overcomplicated or confusing, even though it was kind of confusing when you have to try to think about it. But it's not confusing to the point of frustratingly confusing. It's not like, again, the story defies logic or expectations just for the sake of so-and-so. It makes sense in the story, and they set it up in previous movies, and even in the universe, the last movie. So it makes sense.
But later, what they did with it was absolutely incredible. Where they visited old battles and stuff. I was so giddy. I was like a fucking kid on Christmas, just sitting there, having a great old time, just like watching this movie and just feeling like a kid, just being like, "Fuck yeah, this is so cool."
It really brought me back to. It brought me back to when we actually saw the first film back in 2012. God damn it!
We watched that together. I remember that.
Yeah, we went with our school friends. We went to watch it for the first time, and I still remember that feeling of when we saw Thanos in the post-credit scene and thinking, "Oh shit, what does that mean?" Because I know what it meant, but God,
I didn't know who Thanos was at that point. And then that movie Avengers made me want to like read up on comics, and I did a lot.
Ever since then, it was, when's he going to come? Is he going to be in the sequel? No,
Yeah,
it got
I was
Ultron.
like, dude, Thanos is insane. Hold on. When I realized how insane Thanos was, I was like, yeah, bring it. This is going to be amazing. One of the best written villains, not so great in Endgame. Again, I don't want to go back to that, but time travel, the way they sorted that out was so goddamn good.
Yeah, and I love the clever way they introduced all these callbacks to previous movies within the film, like the Hell Hydra scene with Cap, and we got to see Donald Pierce again.
Oh my god, that was fucking amazing! Great, like character. Yeah,
surprise cameos
he fights
too.
himself and wins.
Oh yeah, I love that. Again,
America's ass. Best thing. Oh, he was like,
you got to love Paul Rudd in
America's
this,
ass.
But I'll just say this: I love also the Hell Hydra bit from Cap. I just love that bit too because it's also a nice nod to the comics. I don't know if you know, but there was a recent comic a few years back, I think, that was quite famous for having Captain America become a Hydra agent, and people went crazy over it.
Oh, yeah,
but I love that was a clever callback to that, but it also feels like, you think they're going to do the hallway fight again, which would be cool, but then to have him go, Hell Hydra, and just take the scepter, it's like, cool! Call back, and god damn it, it's...
Such a smart way to just, like, get out of a fight. Like, I don't need to fight you guys, I fought you guys before and won. So, fuck off. It's like, Hell Hydra. So good.
So, did you have any other scenes that stood out to you in the film?
I'm guessing this was inevitable, but I do want to like touch a little bit on the scene where all the female fighters come together and have that cool kind of posy moment. It was awesome, like fuck yeah, why not? Like it was cool, but they could have done it a lot better, which wasn't so in your face. Like, they could have done it much better. There was much better ways of doing it. I even had like a thought of like, why didn't they just like have it so that all the female characters just happen to interact with each other within the same circle of the battle zone? So say like, what's Tony Stark's wife's name?
Pepper Potts.
She was the one in the suit, wasn't she?
Yeah, and Rescue.
Yeah, I could barely tell, but so what's her name again?
Pepper.
Alright. So Pepper would fly down and grab Gamora because she's about to get overrun, just to throw her over to where her sister is, so they can fight together in a cool kind of battle while, and then the camera pans down to
they should have done
they're helping each other out and they happen to be in the same moment, and then they clear out a bunch of enemies with some really cool fighting moves to distract us from the fact that they're all female fighters, because instead of just standing out in the camera and being like, by the way, we're all women.
So what you're saying, they should have basically recreated the scene in the first Avengers film where it cuts to every character doing something.
Yeah, if it was that, because they have so many characters, if they did literally basically something exactly like that, that was a very, very good point. So it's exactly like that. If they did that, but with all the female fighters, it would have been a lot less in your face and a lot more cool. And I would have loved to see that. I would have been like, fuck yeah, let's go. Kick their asses. Why not? It was a little bit pushed in my face, although it still was pretty cool because all the female fighters are fucking badass, not gonna lie.
Yeah, so say what you will about the scene, but these characters, they've earned a cool shot. I just wish it would be executed better.
Yeah,
I
think they've earned a better shot than that, is what I'm saying.
Yeah, that's a better way of putting it.
It kind of feels like a cop-out where, I imagine the director sitting there and be like, alright ladies, all the ladies get together, all the women, we just gotta shove it in their face a little before the end of this, come on, gather up. It kind of came out of nowhere during the battle, and it would have made sense if, say they did that kind of battle scene, like we said, from the first Avengers movie, then it would have made sense within the within the battle they're having.
It's not that it just doesn't. And
it doesn't break the flow.
Feels,
it broke the flow a bit, and it took me out of the movie.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Like, I was immersed as fuck, and then after that, I was like, political. Okay.
Yeah, put it this way. I'll get into this when I talk about my cons for the movie. But I just think that certain parts of the movie could have been executed better,
Oh yeah.
and because of the current climate we're in, which we'll get to. But for the scene itself, at least, you thought it was okay.
Yeah. 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 Like, by all means. Like, I wanted that kind of scene to happen anyway. I just wish it was just done better. That's all.
Okay. So, any other scenes that come to mind before I select my own?
No, I don't think so.
Okay.
Go for your own.
Cool. Okay, so going on to my pros and cons then. Again, I think the big standout scenes for me, which I loved, were of course, who wouldn't choose this bit? The hero moment at the end. Because,
Oh yeah.
again, say what you will about any other movies out this year that blew you away or rekindled your enthusiasm for entertainment. Because, again, we recently watched Kingdom, and that really was a great thing for me. But this movie, watching that scene where every hero reunites and it's the big it's the big final battle. It's the moment we get to finally see Avengers assemble.
Yes.
It really did make me feel emotional, and this film amazingly made me feel emotional throughout the film, which is not rare, but it's very.
You really care about the characters.
You know you're in a good movie when every scene and every character can make you feel something, and
Yeah.
again, considering how a lot of films in these past few years and TV shows and products that I grew up watching have been very meh to frustratingly annoying because of certain aspects, again, which I've reiterated a lot in some videos lately, which I don't want to because, again, I just want to have fun with this stuff, but it's hard to when everything that I love is doing that, so you kind of have to bring it up. But with this film, despite some odd eggs here and there, which we just literally talked about, I just think that this film entirely just delivered on a closing film that just made such sense and was just so satisfying and fulfilling to watch. I mean, a lot of people are saying this film is the end, and it feels like such a satisfying end. That's it. That's what it is. There's no other way of saying it. It's just such a great film.
It's the way they ended it was absolutely perfect in my opinion. Like, obviously they have to end it with Tony Stark. Like, of course, we've mentioned spoilers. Tony Stark dies. So Snape kills Thanos. No. So Tony Stark does this big sacrifice and it makes sense within, like, and it's like in the movie, not just makes sense, but it feels so right. Like, of course it's sad that he's dead, but it feels so right because the first Marvel movie was Iron Man.
Yeah, after all these years and
it
after
ended.
the arc he's had since the first Avengers film, and the fact that he was looking for peace, he wants to ensure the war is protected for his loved ones. This outcome makes sense, and I know we talked before how we thought it would be better, or maybe it would have been a good idea, or it would have been a good idea for him to retire or become, I don't know, the director of S.H.I.E.L.D.
Yeah.
I think those are stories that they could reserve for maybe what if ideas or what could have been stories, because we know they're doing a what if TV series down the line, which would be cool. But
Yeah.
I think for the definitive ending for the MCU's Iron Man, this was perfect.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
we all dreaded it, but honestly, it was perfect.
Honestly, like, in Infinity War, I thought after that movie, I thought the solution was Tony was going to make his Infinity suit, because that's been in a comic. That's been in a couple comics before. And if you don't know, it's just Tony Stark's suit that can handle the 6 stones, but like made so it's like super powerful, like the full suit. And I thought he was going to do that. I thought they were going to take the stones off Thanos and find a way to reverse it all. But obviously, you can't really extend that because they killed Thanos straight away. I don't know how they would have extended that into a 3-hour-long movie, but I'm so glad they did it this way. Everything just works so perfectly.
Yeah, and
Everything fit together.
it was great that every character got to have a role. Because again, you'd be fearful that certain characters would be left out because of their relevance to the story or
like I thought Black Widow was going to get left out, but she has an amazing sacrifice moment
Yeah, and that's another one of the highlight moments I want to talk about. I loved the moments she had with Hawkeye and their conversation about who should be the one to go. And
Yeah.
again, not only does it build on their already established relationship and character development that they've had so far, but that scene alone got me hyped for the Black Widow movie, even though, which we'll get to in my cons, it does throw a wrench in some things. But I think, I'm sorry, it's late. We're recording this at the end of the day and end of work day, so we're not on our best game today, and I'm tired. But just in terms of closing off with what I like scenes, because honestly, the entire movie I loved it.
Yeah. I mean, we definitely liked the movie overall.
Yeah, but I think the standout scenes for me was the heroes uniting moment and the character moments between each one, like the scene between Hawkeye and Black Widow, the moment where Rhodey and Nebula got to have a small moment. It's small, but it makes so much sense because you look at where they've been for their stories. Nebula, who was tortured by her father to the point where she's no longer human, and then you've got Rhodey, who was once permanently able to be a soldier, but now because of his injuries he sustained in Civil War, has to rely on a machine to help him walk. So it makes sense for those two characters to have that moment of, I didn't always used to be like this. Me neither, but we work with what we got, hey?
Yeah.
So perfect. These are
so perfect.
The Russos. I've got to give them applause multiple times over. 4 films, is it? Yeah, 4 films in the MCU. They know how to write bloody characters. And I feel so envious of what they're going to be doing next. Yeah.
A lot more actual MCU movies. I don't know how many in total, like 24 or something, whatever.
22, I think. But
oh my god, there's so many.
Yeah, but yeah, I think for overall the best moments for me were those 2. But I'm sure there's more that
hold on. One more highlight moment I've just remembered just before we continue. Spider-Man gets to use his
instant kill.
Kill mode. So
good. Some people have had complaints that Spider-Man doesn't kill.
Nah, fuck.
And
you.
Spider-Man
do what he wants. He has a suit that has an instant kill mode. You're gonna say that to Spider-Man? It will kill you.
Yeah, I can understand their complaints, but honestly, at the end of the day, they're mindless drones. So it's not like he's killing people.
Yeah.
And they establish in the film that they are mindless monsters who just do their bidding. They're not. They weren't creatures that were enslaved. They were created artificially to kill, essentially. So honestly, I don't think Peter would be losing any sleep over them. So I don't see why we should.
Yeah. That was amazing. I just wanted to get that scene shoved in here at some point.
Yeah, but again, I'm sure I'm missing out some bigger moments that I want to talk about maybe in another video. But I think overall it was a great film. But yes, let's get to the cons.
Get to the cons. Do you want to kick this off, or can I?
What would you prefer? Do you want to kick off, or?
Right, I'm going to kick off. As much as I appreciated all the character development and everything, the movie did feel rather slow. Like, obviously it's a 3-hour movie. If anything, I wanted it to be longer, but it started off, everything was very, very slow. They were just kind of getting the band back together, like getting everyone. Obviously nice like character moments. I don't hate that happened, but it did feel slow for the pace. Like, it was a lot less actiony of a movie than all the other Avengers. All the other Avengers had a lot, absolute ton of action in it. And it kind of felt like this didn't, obviously because it only had the one major battle at the end. And, of course, that was well worth it. Well worth the wait. But it just felt very, very slow getting there for me.
Yeah, and I can understand, because I expected it to be mostly build up to the big end point of the film. But I can understand for some casual viewers, they'll probably feel like, it's too long, it's too talky. But
yeah,
I don't know. I think
you don't understand stuff if you're like a casual viewer, though, because you wouldn't have seen like all the side movies if you're a casual viewer.
Yeah, I think that's a fault that it's gonna have regardless. Like any film that's meant to wrap up a big story. Yeah. So I just think that's just a casualty that people will just have to accept, really.
Yeah,
I don't think they could have cut it anyway differently. Because this had to be a film about characters reacting to how things were going and how they would, move on. For me, it had to be a film where we focused on them for a long time before we got to let's punch Thanos.
Obviously, it was definitely right, and I love this movie to bits. Don't get me wrong. It's only the fact that the build-up, it kind of felt like it was dragged out a bit for me while I was sitting there watching it. But doesn't mean I didn't love every second. They were just dragging out every second.
Okay.
So, how about you? What's your biggest con?
My biggest con is, well, I wouldn't say biggest because I've got a few cons, but they're not movie destroying. They don't ruin the experience for me, but they, as you said, they do. There were certain points that do make you remember that, oh yeah, this is a studio made movie. And the first bit was you know what, I'll talk about the story aspect first before I talk about the studio problem.
Go for it.
But the one thing I had a problem with story wise was the moment between the Hulk and the team in the diner and the death of Black Widow. Now, in terms of the Hulk scene, I just think it was necessary, but also unnecessary, because they have that awkward humour moment where he dabs, and that extended, take a picture of Ant-Man, we don't know who he is, we don't want to. Again, it's understandable, they want to kind of put casual viewers in mind that, Ant-Man's not all that, he's funny, but he's not
fully
funny.
Involved in the Avengers.
Yeah, so he's not serious or whatever, but I feel like that joke did drag a bit, and the fact that it leads into a dab.
Yeah.
Honestly, I hate dabbing. I hate that fact that it's such a thing. Even
you just don't get the meme, man. It's for the meme. Imagine Hulk dabbing on you.
I didn't need the Hulk to dab.
Yeah, but don't fucking lie. If you saw the Hulk in person dabbing in front of you, you'd be like, "Fuck yeah, you dab away." Because if I say anything, you'd punch me straight in the face and kill me.
I'd take a punch knowing that I got punched by the Hulk instead of I got dabbed by the Hulk.
You're dead. You won't know anything. You'd be dead.
Yeah. Better than seeing a dab. But dabbing aside, I just think that scene could have been cut down, for say.
Yeah.
But the other thing was Black Widow's death. Now, I understand what they were going for. My only frustration with it is that on the story aspect, it makes sense. We needed to lose some Avengers, and I thought for sure that we were going to lose some. But I just thought we weren't going to lose her, because I feel like Scarlet Witch, but Black Widow, Natasha, has a lot of potential to do, and we know we're getting a movie for her. But
that's an origin movie, though, isn't it?
Exactly, because of this film now, it's going to guaranteed be an origin film. And I've kind of talked about this in the Let's Talk we did. I thought for sure it would be cool if they did a Godfather-esque story where it was a prequel and a sequel, because I think that would be something different from normal MCU standards. Because again, we've had 2 prequel movies so far, and only one of them's been good. So I think that if they're going to do a third one, they would have to change it up and make it interesting. But because of this film now, because of the actions of her character and her death, it's guaranteed to actually be a genuine prequel, and they can still make it amazing. But I just think that ruins an opportunity for them to do something different. And in terms of the character too, again, it makes sense. I'm not saying they shouldn't have done it, but I just wish that we could see more of her for the long run, because again, I would have been okay if Hawkeye died.
I did miss her in the final battle. I was like,
it didn't feel as
she wasn't in the old woman scene.
Thank God. but I just wish that we
I wonder if she was pissed about that.
Well, you never know, because apparently we'll get to that in a sec, but some cast members were upset at a certain person for reasons, which we'll get to. But that scene aside, I think it was justifiable. I just wish that we could see more Black Widow in the future, but we're only guaranteed to get a prequel at least.
That's fine. I'll take that.
Yeah. But the main grab I had with this movie, which was no surprise, which was the girl scene with Captain Marvel. Now, I'm going to be flat out and say this. my review for Captain Marvel was... I'm not disagreeing with it. I still stand by my thoughts, and I think that they need to really work on Captain Marvel. They need to fix her in her sequel, and that's the only chance they've got. Because if they don't, they're stuck in a corner with a terrible character, because she has no arc. In this film, I think she's used well. She's not part of the central focus, which is great, because this is not her movie. She did not need to be part of the story if she was going to be front and center. Because this is the Avengers film. This is not Captain Marvel 2. I'm so glad she
didn't kill Thanos.
Yeah, but the thing is, again, because of... This is more behind the scenes problems, really. Because Brie Larson's been such a pain behind the scenes. I don't know if you heard about it, but there was a few interviews with that she did with the cast, and it's so awkward. Again, in short, she basically got into a disagreement with Chris Hemsworth, who plays Thor, and he's clearly just trying to have a laugh, be fun, have it be a nice compliment. But she takes it full on seriously. And it's just so... It was just so deflating in the moment, because
she... Brie is just not a great personality, I think. She's just not like she doesn't seem like a great personality.
It feels like she's just so into her political ideals, and it's not fun to listen to. I get it. God damn it. These things are important, but they don't need to interfere with every corner of our entertainment aspect. We can have movies about politics, sure. We can have movies focused on just women, sure. But make them make sense in the story you're telling.
Write good movies for it, and then we'll care more.
Yeah, and Captain Marvel was an example of how not to do it. And with Brie Larson, it didn't help that she kept insisting that, she did amazing with it. She did her own stunts, even though she didn't do a lot of intense stunts, like Tom Cruise, per se. And even though Chris Hemsworth was trying to say, "Oh, you did your own stunts like Tom Cruise," in a joking and complimentary manner, she took it as, "Oh no, I want to do my stunts." It just it sheds a light on that. I wouldn't want to be friends with you or make jokes with you, because you clearly would take them too seriously. So that kind of ruined the aspect of her as an actress for me. So seeing her on screen in the actual movie, it was nice that she wasn't in our faces. And she actually had some, aside from a few dialogue points, like the fact that she has to go, "Oh, before you didn't have me now." Again, in isolation, it's like, oh god, please don't. But in the story, it makes sense. And god damn it, we actually got to see her tear up a bit in this film. Yeah. Even though in her own solo movie, where she's meant to have the most emotion, she doesn't. But in this in that one scene, we got to see her tear up at seeing Nick Fury's hologram on the screen. And yeah, god damn it, give us more of that, please. Give us excuses and reasons to like the character, not just, say how good she was and all this other stuff that comes with these kind of things. But sorry, I'm ranting at this point. I'm saving that for a Captain Marvel review. But
if you want to know Kobe's opinion on Captain Marvel, go watch his review of it.
Yeah, and I will be doing another video with Harry down the line about Captain Marvel 2, which we'll get to and discuss more about the Brie Larson problems and the Captain Marvel character. But in short, I think that the big problem I had with this film, in terms of the cons, was that her presence and the overall scenes that basically pushed for the girl power moment too. The moment where she says, "Before you didn't have me," and then of course we get the girl power scene in the final battle. I agree. They didn't need to be done that way. They should have done it better. And the fact that they teased that she might be the one to kill Thanos, I did not like that, because in that moment, I get it. You're meant to feel, "Oh god, is she going to do it? Is she going to do it?" But honestly, I was just feeling like, "Oh god damn it, don't do it, please. Don't take this away from everyone. They've worked so hard for this." And thankfully they didn't.
A lot more characters deserved it, so I'm glad they gave it to them.
Yeah, and those were my only gripes, really. I'll get into more of why in future videos, but in terms of this review and for the film overall, I think these problems didn't affect my overall enjoyment for the film, because at the end of the day, this is a film for the Avengers. It's a film for Iron Man, for Cap, and everyone that we've been with since 2012, since this series began. And I think they delivered a perfect ending to the MCU for the first phase.
That was a very nice close off. And I'm sad to see it go, but goddamn is it beautiful while it walks away.
Yeah. And who knows what's going to come next. It might be amazing. It might, again, if it falls down a certain path, it might be terrible. But at least we can say that this first decade was perfect.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Gonna miss you, Marvel. Well, not Marvel in general, but I'm going to miss you, Avengers.
Yeah.
My beautiful babies.
We can always remember them.
In our memories. Or we can watch the other films. Let's do that.
Yeah,
Let's have a marathon.
Let's just rewatch them all. But yeah, so thank you everyone for joining us today. Hope you enjoyed today's video. I am Kobi.
I am Lennon.
And this was Great Owl Reviews. We'll see you in the next one. Goodbye.
Bye.